My name is Jessica Hill, and I'm the president of the Mu Kappa Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I would like to welcome you to our second annual Legacy Career Fair. We are experiencing a time where many of us are in need of new career opportunities. The Legacy Career Fair was created to empower individuals to take control of their career paths and provide the resources and networks needed to assist with success. A job is about dignity, respect, and community. It provides financial stability to homes and families. Having a job empowers you to begin a financial legacy. We hope you take advantage of all the knowledge presented. Thank you for tuning in and welcome to the second annual Legacy Career Fair.
So glad you could join us for the second annual Legacy Career Fair. My name is Monica Green, and I am the first vice president of Mu Kappa Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. We have partnered with Workforce Solutions and Mr. James Martin of the Charisma Effect to provide you with valuable career information on building your personal brand, as well as learning from labor market experts on how to navigate in this virtual environment. This event was organized in alignment with Alpha Kappa Alpha's international platform on building your economic legacy. During our inaugural event in 2019, job seekers had the opportunity to meet with employers, create LinkedIn accounts, as well as obtain a professional photo. This year, during these virtual times, we have decided to provide you with tools via a video platform to help you become gainfully employed. Again, welcome and good luck.
Is your virtual look presentable? It's important that you stay poised, polished, and professional, not only in a face-to-face setting, but also in a virtual environment. Today, we're going to talk about how to improve your virtual look. Now, when I say virtual look, I'm not just speaking of how you look physically, but I am talking about your entire virtual experience. So let's get started. The first thing that I want to talk about is your background. How should your virtual background appear? Well, it's very simple. You just want to make sure that your background is nice, neat, and organized. One other thing is you want to ensure that if there's anything that could be in your background that can be considered offensive, you want to make sure that you take that out of the camera's view. Just as if you were at work, at your desk, or at your cubicle, you definitely wouldn't want to have anything that may be offensive to others in that environment. So again, that environment is really just an extension, or this virtual environment is an extension of your professional environment at work. So you want to make sure that everything is intact there. Let's talk about lighting. Lighting is a very important aspect of how you show up virtually. Let's give you a quick example. If you're in a room that has a window, you want to make sure that you are facing the window so that the natural light shines upon you and gives you and the room a nice, crisp, clean look. You do not want to sit where the window is behind you because that light will cast a shadow upon you and it'll make it appear that you're just a silhouette in the middle of the screen. Now, if you find that your lighting is still poor in whatever room that you're in, you do have an option, of course, if it is within your budget, to go out and purchase some type of lighting kit. Those always work pretty well. Now let's talk about your camera angle. Your camera should be at eye level, right? You want to make sure that it's not too low because you don't want it to appear that you're looking down on the individuals on your call. And you want to make sure that it's not too high because you don't want it to look like you're consistently looking up at them. Another thing is you want to make sure that you are centered in the middle of your screen. You don't want it to appear that you're too far to the right of the screen, too far to the left, but you want to make sure that you are centered and make sure you give yourself some headroom so that your head is not cut off at the top of the screen. Distractions. If it can happen, it probably will. And I'm pretty sure if you've been on any type of virtual call, you've probably run into some type of distraction. So distractions come in all types of forms. So it could either be from the kids or other family members, pets, noises from outside, your phone's ringing, or some type of alert pops up on your phone that makes some type of noise. Going back to the kids and family members, best practice would be just to have a conversation with them before your meeting to let them know that you will be on a virtual call and to not disturb you. Now, I understand with smaller kids, you may have to go a step further. So I would suggest either giving them some type of task or project to work on at that particular time. Another option is to write a note on the door or whatever room you're in to let people know to do not disturb you at that particular time, okay? Speaking of other distractions from outside, I'll give you a perfect example. Let's say that you are in the room, everything is going well with your call, but it is garbage day, right? And we all know how loud our garbage trucks can be. So that noise from outside can infiltrate that call and really be a disturbance to those that are on the call itself. Not only that, horns from outside or cars passing back and forth on the street. So what I would do is strategically find a room in your home or wherever you are in whatever building you're in and make sure that you're far away from as many distractions as possible. How do we dress for a virtual call? Well, first things first, I would always stop by a mirror to check yourself out, right? You want to make sure that everything is intact. You want to make sure that all your buttons are buttoned, your collars are flipped down. Guys, if you're wearing a tie, make sure your tie is pushed up correctly. So you want to just make sure that you're looking good for that particular call. Next, always ensure that your clothing is clean and well pressed. Believe it or not, those things actually show up online. So make sure that you check those things out. If you have to check that out before your call, the night before, or right before your call, ensure that you do so. The next thing I want to talk about is what you actually wear. So the patterns that you wear and colors that you wear on screen. I would try to stay away as well as possible from what I call strong patterns. So any type of bold stripes or polka dots, those things draw a lot of attention. So you want the attention, remember, to be on you and not particularly your clothing. So ensure that you find something that is pleasing to the eye and it's not going to be too busy on that particular call. Now, if we're speaking about interviews, you want to stay traditional and basic. Those basic colors for interview clothing or suits are blue, gray, black. Even for guys, your shirts need to be a nice, crisp, clean white shirt. Ladies, a white blouse or a presentable blouse that's interview ready. So you want to ensure you just kind of stay to the basics when it comes to that and not to have anything on too bold or flashy when it comes to your interview, and it will help you to appear more professional in your virtual setting. The other thing is, ladies, you want to make sure that you don't have too much bulk in regards to jewelry. So you don't want really bulky or huge earrings or bulky or huge necklaces. Keep it nice, crisp, clean, and professional. So now let's discuss your posture and body movements while you're on camera. So it should go without saying, but your posture should be pristine. You want to make sure that you're sitting upright and that you're not leaning over to the right, leaning over to the left. You want to make sure that you are very presentable and have a professional presence while you're on camera. The other thing that typically happens, and sometimes we don't realize it, is we fidget a lot while we're on camera. So sometimes we may fidget with our ears or our nose or our mouth. We may have a pen that we're kind of fidgeting with, and those things can actually be distractions also. So just keep in mind that people are watching you all the time, the entire time that you are online or on that call, and just be cognizant of those little small things that you do. Speaking on a call, always make sure that you're speaking in a loud enough voice where others can hear you. Secondly, never interrupt your peers. It can be very, very rude. So wait until they finish their thoughts, wait until they finish whatever they're saying, and then you can chime in on whatever you need to speak about. The other thing is you want to make sure that you utilize your mute button. Whenever you're not speaking, click the mute button so that there won't be any other outside noises that may disturb your peers on the call or that may be bothersome to others when you are not speaking. Be attentive on your call. Never multitask. You can miss something very important, and there's nothing like being asked a question while you're multitasking and you are unprepared to answer. So ensure that you are paying close attention to what's being said on that virtual call. If for any reason you have to leave the view of the camera, turn your video off. You don't want to distract others while you're leaving the view of the camera and then coming back on. So make sure that you remember to turn your camera off. If you have the option to choose a profile picture, make sure that it is a professional one. And also ensure that your name is spelled correctly underneath your profile photo. You don't want to use a nickname or some other type of name that you use when you're not in a professional setting. So again, make sure that you have a great professional photo and that your name is spelled correctly. Close all applications on your device if you're not using them at the time of the call. But if you are using a particular application, such as you're having to share your screen with someone during this particular call, of course, that should be the only thing open. Having multiple applications open at one time can really cause your screen to freeze. And that's one of the last things you want to do if you're giving a presentation, is for your screen to freeze. I really hope that the information I provided you today will be a huge help to you on your next virtual call. Remember, it's all about being professional and enhancing your personal brand. Thank you, and the best to you in your future endeavors.
Hello, this is a tutorial for online virtual and phone interviewing presented by Workforce Solutions. There are several objectives to this tutorial to help you understand the difference between in-person interviewing and online interviewing. The objectives are to understand the three types of online interviewing, to see what's the same and what's different from in-person interview, and tips for success for each type of online interviewing. First, we're going to talk about the difference between in-person versus online interviewing. What's the same? Well, the progression of interviews is typically unchanged. There's an initial screen that determines whether you move forward. There's often a second interview with skills, and then a third one around fit and soft skills. Some companies may combine these interviews. Some of these interviews may happen through different methods. Your screen might be a phone interview. Your second interview could be a video interview. Key behaviors don't change in an online interview. You still need to pay attention to your clothing and grooming. You still need to have good eye contact and good body language, facial expressions. You want to be able to answer and ask questions clearly and professionally, and you always send a thank you note afterwards. So what's different? First of all, the most important thing is there's technology between you and the interviewer, because you're not in the same room. Unlike an in-person interviewer, you, not the interviewer, set the scene. In an in-person interview, you're going to their location, you're sitting in their room, in their background. In the online interview, you control what they see, such as a background or face view, how you're set, your look. You also control what they hear. That includes background noise and speech clarity. You need to treat the computer or the phone camera as the interviewer, not the screen. There's more focus on you because the interviewer is looking at a monitor or camera directly. They're seeing you all the time. They're not looking around at anything else. You also run the risk of being too casual or familiar because you're doing the interview not in a company environment that sets a stage for you, but you're doing it in the familiarity of your home or work area in your house or apartment. So online interviewing has its unique set of challenges. Online interviewing uses person-to-person software like Skype, Zoom, MS Teams, or similar. You use your phone or computer camera and microphone. If you know what's going to be used, use the same on your computer or phone and try practice using it in advance. That way you understand the controls and how it works, and you're not fumbling during an interview. Over the internet connection is typical for both video and sound. So a phone may use a cell connection, which is more prone to glitches, so try to find a Wi-Fi connection. If you can, try to use hardwire connection to a laptop or computer. If you don't have that, use a good strong Wi-Fi signal you can control. You want to avoid technical glitches. It's pretty much the same as in person, but the participants are in two separate locations. So I mentioned you control what the interviewer sees and hears. So this is really important to set the stage. So position and lighting helps the visual image look good. You want to be about arm's length from your computer or phone camera. Problem with the phone is sometimes people treat being recorded on video with a phone the way they do when they're making a phone call voice only. So the viewer gets a strange close-up of their face. You want to put it on something, prop it up, and be at about arm's length. This is easy to do because you can test it. The camera should face you at eye level. It should be, if you have a laptop or a monitor and it's too low, prop it up on a box or a book. You want to have the computer camera at eye level so you're looking straight at it and not have it tipped up or down to get you in the image. And you want to make sure you look at the camera when you do the interview so that it doesn't look like you're looking someplace else, that you're looking right at the interviewer. And you don't want the camera looking up your nose or at the ceiling. It's nice to have warm lighting from one or both sides. Overhead fluorescents are really awful looking. Ideally, 2 small table lamps on either side of the monitor will illuminate your face very nicely and make the background a little bit darker so it doesn't stand out. You want to dress professionally from head to toe. You might accidentally stand. Plus, being dressed also sets you in the mood. Here we have a couple of examples of a video interview appearance. On the left, we have someone who did a good job. Clear background, nice smile, professionally dressed, looking at the camera lens, in general presenting a really nice appearance. On the right, we have someone who didn't set it up so hot. That person is looking at the computer screen, not the camera. Their lighting is not very good. There's a person in the background. The window shade is open, so the glare causes the camera to make her face dark. This is not a good one at all. You control what the interviewer sees and hears. Continued. Try turning off your PC in your workspace and listen. See if there's machine sounds like a fan that the computer is picking up. People noises like a family in another room, TV or radio, or sounds from the outside. Microphones often auto-adjust. That means when you're not talking, they'll increase their sensitivity if they detect another sound. You don't want that to happen. Background is clean and presentable in any video. Some products have a blur background option. Others may not have that, so you should be prepared. Avoid busy or personal views such as a messy room, ceiling fan, similar things like that. You might need to hang a sheet or a blanket if you don't have a space where you can find a good background. That's okay, but you do want to make sure that it is absolutely spotless in the background. The best practices for in-person interviews still apply, and that's things like practicing greeting, smiling, your body language, gestures, all that kind of thing. There is a high focus on your face because that is all that the interviewer is looking at. So eye movement is easily seen. So if you're looking off camera to read, if you're not looking at the camera on your phone or laptop, that's very apparent. Again, remember to look at the camera, not the screen. Smile. Remember, facial expressions stand out. So if you're neutral and frowning, you don't look particularly invested in the interview, but if you're smiling, it looks like you're enjoying it. A smile also impacts your voice and mood for the better. You might be recorded in an online interview, so your audio and video will be available for direct comparison with other interviews. Other people may view it also. So that's another reason to prepare in advance and get the basics right. Virtual interviewing is a new technology that's really gaining some ground with a lot of companies. Virtual interviewing is the same as an online interview, and everything applies except there's no live person on the other end. You're being interviewed by software. There's several ways you're being interviewed. There might be questions displayed on the screen, one after another, as you answer. A virtual interviewer bot, or a fake person, might be asking you questions, which you answer. Or there's a video of a real person asking questions. In either case, there's nobody live on the other end. The software is usually user-friendly, but still make sure you understand how to operate it before you start. And if the instructions are printable, then you might want to try printing it so you have it as a reference. You might have the option to view and redo your answers. And if you do, by all means, take that opportunity. But be aware of overdoing redos. It can become fake sounding. Plus, it looks bad if you take 3 hours to do a 45-minute interview because you've been redoing the answers so much. You will be recorded. That's the purpose of a virtual interview. Your video and voice are played back at a later date. Then the hiring manager or interviewer can directly compare all the candidates, often side by side at the same time on screens in their computer. So technology issues will stand out a lot more. So if you have glitches, blurs, hiccups, it'll be very apparent. So make sure your computer or phone operates well. A phone interview is different from the previous online interviewing that we've talked about because no one's actually seeing you. The phone interview is often a first step. It's an initial screen to decide who progresses in the interview process. It may not sound that important, but it's actually very important because you won't continue if you don't pass it, so you need to prepare for it like you would any other interview. The other thing with a phone interview is nonverbal communication disappears. That's things like eye contact, gestures, body language, expression. 7% of spoken communication is vocabulary, 38% of spoken communication is voice inflection, but 55% of spoken communication is nonverbal, and that disappears. So all of a sudden, the others become very important. And by voice inflection, I mean things like your pace, how slow or how fast you're talking. Also the tone. Are you energetic or are you talking flat and boring and not much inflection? All those things can transmit a message to the interviewer that you may not be aware of. When you're doing a phone interview best practices are even more important. That's practicing your answers, practicing what you're going to say and how you're going to respond. Hesitations, uncertain answers, and that sort of thing really stand out because there's not much else communicating other than your sound of your voice and the words you say. Also, smile, even though the other person can't see it. So wait, you said that things that they can't see, like body gestures, won't make any difference. That's true. But when you smile, your voice inflection will change for the better. Your own mood will be better. Your energy and sound level come across better. When customer service representatives are trained in a customer service center answering the phone, they're often trained to smile when they answer the phone because they know it comes across better. When you do a phone interview, consider standing instead of sitting. This way you're less likely to relax because you're not on the spot how you look. You'll sound more alert and energetic. Tape your resume and the job description to a door at a height that's easy to read. Don't use a wall because you might damage the paint. Be aware of surrounding noises. Again, things like appliances, fans, family noises, music or TV from another room, other sounds that might cause a problem and be picked up by an interview you don't want to have going on during your phone interview. So we're going to talk about some tips for success in all types of online interviewing. Practice your answers without notes, just like you would for an in-person interview. Interviewers will pick up on your use of notes, even in phone interviews. If you're on a video interview, your eyes moving to read your notes is going to be very apparent and disconcerting to the interviewer. Notes cause delays while you search for the answer. Always dress head to toe like for an in-person interview. You set a mental stage for yourself on how you act as a professional person. And you don't want to give an accidental glimpse if you go halfway, such as wearing a shirt and tie and you stand up and your gym shorts show. Practice, practice, practice. With online interviewing of all types, this is really easy to do. You can do it with friends to help you get comfortable with the technology. Use a recording option in Skype or Zoom so you can look at the video and see how your background looks, your lighting, how you sound, and that type of thing. Have the person you're working with ask the questions you might struggle with. This way, not only do you get practice answering them, but you also get to see if you react poorly to them when they're asked. So in summary, there's a number of key points. Behaviors and best practices for in-person interviews apply to online, virtual, and phone interviews. You, not the interviewer, control the sight and sound of your surroundings in online, virtual, and phone interviews. You need to practice and troubleshoot your technology. And finally, phone interviews remove body languages, gestures and expressions, and it makes vocabulary and voice inflection even more important. Thank you for viewing this tutorial on online interviewing. I hope it was a help to you when you get an interview, virtual, online, or in a phone interview. Good luck in your job search.
Welcome to our course on personal branding, an online learning course presented by Workforce Solutions. Building a personal brand is an ongoing process that enables you to establish an impactful impression on others, both within your organization and in your day-to-day life. During this course, we'll discuss ways in which we can learn about how to take control of your job search through refining your personal brand with a focused strategy to align with people's perception of you and your desired reputation. A brand is an expectation of an experience. Can you name these? What are some of these logos and these icons associated with? Some of them we work with all the time. Some of them we may not even realize that we connect to. When I think about Starbucks, do I know what that picture is for? When I take my kids to McDonald's, do I know what that image is in my head already? An expectation of an experience. And for these brands, you have a thought that connects them with your experience that you've had. What about a personal brand? When you think of a certain person, a celebrity, a historical figure, a character, what is it that comes to mind? Does that change over time? Can you affect a personal brand? Can a person change their personal brand? For instance, this was a young star back in the 80s, very popular, and then Robert Downey Jr. struggled with his own personal issues, personal mistakes. But in time, he became a movie star again, and now he's known as Iron Man. So a personal brand is an ongoing process of establishing a personalized image or impression in the mind of others about an individual, group, organization. But you don't have to be a celebrity to take control of your professional career using personal branding. In order for us to build a personal brand, these components will be the basis for understanding the power of a personal brand. Perception, judgment, influence, reputation. In the end, you can look at the personal brand as not so much an image, it can be a legacy of who you are and how you are remembered and represented. Personal branding is not a new concept, and in the job search, you can take control of your success. With others' perception and your desired reputation in mind, you can apply concepts of your personal brand, making a strategy, and best practices online and in person. And we'll talk about those individually throughout the presentation. So let's take a look at some of the key concepts and responsibilities of building your personal brand. We'll talk about perception. We'll think about a certain scenario and talk about what reputation really means. Because personal branding was popularized and introduced way back in 1937 in a book called Think and Grow. Later on, in 1997, 60 years later, it comes up again as people start talking about it in an article called The Brand Called You. But today, there's an added emphasis on personal branding due to the rise of the internet and social media. It's very, very common to think about personal branding. So when you think about perception, it's the way others view you. And those people could be family, friends, your manager, your coworkers, your teammates, anybody. But do these people all see you the same way? It depends. People see things from different angles, and they may see things that may be fairly similar, but it just depends on perception. So, this may be a little bit challenging to think about, but let's just consider what's going to happen at your funeral when you're gone. What's it going to be like when your 10 closest family and friends think of you? On how you impacted their life, whether they felt like they knew you very well, how well they knew the you that's in your head. Now think of the people outside that bubble. What about coworkers or people with a professional relationship that you had in the past? Here they are at your funeral. What are they going to think of you? Stop and think about that just for a little bit. And now let's come back and think about how will you be remembered? How do you want to be remembered? So here we are today. And think about it. How did you get here? Was it by chance? Was it you took a job and it just happened to meet somebody? Or did you plan it out? Where do you want to be going forward? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Think about the future. So now, what inspires you? What motivates you? What makes you want to grow? What makes you feel like you want to get better and improve? Personal branding can give you that control of your future by being aware of people's perception, by being aware of what you want and how you want to be perceived. Because personal branding is not just what you say about yourself or an extension of your employer or your role at work or your family's brand. It isn't even your presence in social media or something that you ask for or are entitled to or just power. It's not. That's not your personal brand. It's not permanent. It's not about what you are. It's about who you are. Personal branding is what you stand for, what you believe in, and how you can offer value. Because when it all comes down to it, when the employer is looking at you, they need to be able to know what you can offer. And that's where reputation comes in. Your reputation, just like those icons and those images earlier of McDonald's or Starbucks or Shell Oil, your reputation is an expectation of an experience. Your employer will think, how will I feel if I hire you? How will I feel if I employ you, use your skills? How will I feel if I promote you? Are you promotable? Are you somebody that's going to contribute to the team or lead and progress us forward? Knowing your personal brand and taking control is about working towards that desired reputation. So, does your desired reputation, the way that you want to be seen, does it match how others see you? And if not, what are some things that we can do? Because it's an ongoing process. All the things that we're going to talk about, all the steps and all the recommendations, you're going to continue doing to establish your credibility and be proactive in making sure that you know that you're going to work towards that desired reputation. So let's take a look at some of the key concepts and responsibilities of building your personal brand. So let's take a look at some of the key concepts and responsibilities of building your personal brand. So let's look at making a strategy and being aware of who our audience is, building influence, and making a network that works for you. You can tailor your personal brand by your audience. So who do you influence? The circle of people you connect with, the circle of people that you work with on a daily basis that turn to you, that trust you. At the same time, when it comes to the employer, you want to be able to know that your audience is also people that are looking for someone like you, meaning that people that have your skills, your traits, your values. So being marketable and letting people know that you have these skills, these traits, these values is very important. And part of that is being aware of people's needs, both functional and emotional. So doesn't matter whether it's a certain industry, a community, or an individual, all of them have needs that can be influenced. So when we're talking about functional needs, that's about what an organization or an individual may need from your performance. Like, for example, maybe they want you to be on time to go to work. Be punctual. Or maybe they want you to be knowledgeable, making sure that you're smart on your tasks and aware and of all the things you need to know for your job. Or have solid technical skills so that you could be that subject matter expert. But emotionally, That may be the need that they want to feel from you. They want to feel trusted. They want to feel safe when they're around you. They want to feel collaborative, meaning that they know that they can work with you. They may want to know that they can have a connection with you, have common traits and things that they can speak comfortably with you on a personal basis. So people always say, oh, it doesn't matter what people think of you. Sometimes it can. And you can turn that to your advantage because you can make it matter what people think of you by knowing your audience, knowing their needs, and making sure that you work towards that to help build your reputation. So with building influence, credibility is built on values plus action, meaning that you are going to make sure that people know the values that you have and see that you take action for it. You're going to influence others by making sure that you have a clear outcome and a clear goal. Building your influence is important because you want to be able to know that you can measure success, be promotable, be someone that they can turn to or someone that they're looking for. For example, maybe you should offer up more opinions when it comes down to making work decisions, or network more internally at work. Reach out to other people and connect with them. And then you're going to establish metrics, ways in which you know that you're getting the success you need. Because if it's working, then do more of it. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. So whether it's about offering up opinions or, helping that person to the left of you or to the right of you, sometimes it's about just those little bits of action that you can help build credibility and build influence. The best way that you can build that influence is by networking. Network everywhere. There's not a wrong place to network, whether it's at work, whether it's at the store, whether it's at a certain meeting, you're out and you're representing your organization. It's a relationship tool to build with people. And it's a good way to open up your own network by knowing that you will reach out and network with decision makers, sure, because those are the impactful people, the ones that are making those big decisions, that person that may promote you, or that person that is a hiring manager, or somebody that knows somebody else. Those are good people too. But there's also information sources. Those are the kind of people that have insight and information, those subject matter experts, those people that can give you more new and fresh ideas. At the same time, one of the things that you should always look for are supporters in your goals. Coaches, mentors, and sponsors. A coach is somebody that can give you tips, help you along, motivate you. A mentor is somebody that can walk you through and lead by example to you. And a sponsor is somebody even bigger because they will work for you even if you don't ask. They're that person that is giving you favors and offering you advice and help on even when you're not around. These are the kind of people that can really build your network. And you can do this anywhere. Because when you're networking, you've got to make sure that it's a win-win conversation. What I mean by that is both parties are going to come out with positive results. Part of you making connections with other people is making sure that there's increased opportunity growth for everybody. You're not just trying to get something out of someone else. There's potential value for each of you. And that's built on good, strong connections. So making network a win-win relationship, it's so very important. But part of that is for you to be someone to network with. Be a resource. Be a resource. That means that you're available. You're investing in favors before you ask for them. You don't have to always be the one that's asking for something for someone else, Be the one to help the other people so that people turn to you. And stay in touch. Part of keeping a network and building a relationship is that it's not just one and done. It's a relationship. And be genuine. The more that you are real, the more people are going to trust you. They're not going to feel like they're being manipulated, and they're more apt to help you and support you in your goals if you're authentic. So let's take a look at some of the key concepts and responsibilities of building your personal brand. So now that we talked a little bit about what a personal brand is and also about making a strategy, let's look at some So let's take a look at some of the key concepts and responsibilities of building your personal brand. Practices that are going to help you out working with social media, recognizing what your bubble is, staying and being professional, just communication in general, and then an elevator pitch, which will wrap it all up together. Social media is so very important these days. And the biggest thing you can do for your personal brand is to engage. Participate in online conversation. Do not be afraid to put yourself out there as long as you realize that you're online. If you're online, that means you're public. If you're public, that means it's permanent record. Be professional. Be professional and stay professional. Know that small moments can make a lasting impression. And when you're online and working with social media, this is your opportunity to stay focused and look at making sure that you're influencing your target audience. So use social media to grow your audience. Know the differences between social media networks that can help you. Social media platforms like LinkedIn, it can be used as a professional business tool. Add to your perspective. Don't just post and forward. Be part of the conversation. Like we spoke before, be able to use this one to really add and network and connect with other people. People are going to see that this is your business side. The people on LinkedIn are there to see your perspective, and you can stand out by adding more than just a dry post. And for Facebook, this is your social media platform to humanize yourself, to make sure that you're clean and appropriate and presenting yourself well, and then still also remaining personal. You can balance your work and your personal side with Facebook. There are many other social media platforms, but these two specifically can really help your audience grow, to help build your personal brand. It's important to know that you need to look at all those social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all of it. Do they match? Are there things that stick out that don't seem to go well with your personal brand? And learn the art of self-editing. Sometimes you have to know when to be candid or honest and know when you need to just reserve judgment and hold it back. Social media is a very powerful tool, and it can be positive and it can be negative. Just be aware of how to turn it to your advantage, because you're there to influence your bubble. And when I say your bubble, sometimes people refer to it as your tribe or your cohort or your circle of influence. But it's important to remain focused on knowing where those areas cross into each other. Friends, close and longtime friends and acquaintances. Family, we're talking about immediate family and relatives. And then online, connections both business and personal. And then, of course, your coworkers, who may fall under a combination of some of these categories, but it's important to know that you have divisions among them sometimes, and you may also have commonalities. Be aware of what your bubble is, and the more that you build your personal brand, know that you may find your bubble growing. And the larger it is, sometimes it's maybe more difficult to manage, but it's important to recognize that you have a bubble or a circle of influence that affects who you are as a personal brand. And your professional presence, which we've talked about earlier, ways that you can affect that: effective communication, knowing that you want to avoid things like legal or HR issues, because that professional presence is very important, and it should be consistent and authentic. You want to be able to know that, just like sending a message out, you want to be able to know you set the tone, and that professional presence will help set that tone and be very clear when you're working with your audience. So effective communication. Did you know that we speak at about 150 to 225 words a minute, but we hear and think at about 1,000 words a minute? So that means that we're taking in a lot more than we probably can say. But realistically, only 7% of spoken communication is vocabulary. The rest of it, 38%, is voice inflections, and another 55% is nonverbal behavior. So there's a lot of things that you can do to affect your personal brand in person, like your body language, for example, the way that you stand, the way that you carry yourself. There's a lot to be said by standing in a confident manner. Or hand gestures. You can use them to emphasize what you're saying as you speak, to make sure that you're more expressive and that people can think and remember you by the way that you express yourself. And of course, eye contact. Eye contact. And this is just as important when we're talking about virtually talking to somebody, by looking into the camera and making sure that people are listening to you and are engaged. Effective communication is very important. It's important to clarify and confirm what people are saying and actively listening. It's important to listen, to understand, and make sure that you're reducing distractions when you're talking to somebody. And then those nonverbal messages, again, making eye contact, nodding occasionally, and smiling and using hand gestures really do emphasize the fact that you're listening. Those little small cues that you do when you speak really do make a difference and emphasize your personal brand. So we can tie it all together, from knowing your audience and being aware of your reputation to networking and applying effective communication. All of that comes down and connects in the elevator pitch, because it's a quick summary of yourself, and it can be used in a few different situations, such as networking and connecting with people in person or online, or during that first important question in the interview where they say, "Hey, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?" Because in an elevator pitch, you're able to talk about who you are, what you do, and what you want in a short, brief 30 seconds to 2 minutes. It's simple and straight and to the point. And in a job interview, or even in the job search situation, you can include things like what you're looking for, your relevant experience, skills and knowledge that you have, or even major accomplishments that you may have done in the past. For example, "Hello, my name is Craig Kasipe. I had recently just retired from the military, and as I'm transitioning home and ready to settle with my family, I think about the fact that I really came to enjoy teaching and education during my time in the military. I spent about 3 to 5 years teaching young Marines and instructing classrooms of about 8 to 10, and I spent about 2 years doing curriculum development and building classes and working on courses to help educate Marines about their different skills. And so here I am applying for a training facilitator position so that I can help share my knowledge and experience and help grow your organization." An elevator pitch. It's quick, 30 seconds to 2 minutes, about yourself, and it gives you an opportunity to show your personal brand. And if you want, you can even try it out. Think about the fact that you'll always have an opportunity to use your elevator pitch in a lot of different situations. In an elevator pitch, it applies your personal brand to show what makes you unique. It highlights what you do to the network that you're reaching out to. Helps them remember you with a story. Tie it in. Use something in your past when you're doing an elevator pitch to help them remember about what you've done. And it engages other people to share. Ask them about their story. Make sure that you're not just throwing out your elevator pitch. Ask them about theirs. Ask them about them. So let's take a look at some of the key concepts and responsibilities of building your personal brand. A really important way for you to help build that personal brand as well. So today we talked about your personal brand, making a strategy and knowing your audience and how to build influence, and best practices online, using social media and ways that you can use effective communication in person. And if you have any questions at all about anything covered in this course or any of the courses that are offered by us, please do not hesitate to reach out to Workforce Solutions. Thank you very much, and good luck on your job search.
My name is Venice Berry, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in for the information that the Mu Kappa Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha and our partners, Workforce Solutions and Mr. James Martin, have provided. We hope this information will be beneficial, impactful, and pertinent in your virtual career search. Mu Kappa Omega has always strived to be of service to our community and surrounding areas. Again, thank you for joining us. Be blessed. And remember, a working community is a productive community.